Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode. It's your boy Gabe. Today I got a nice New Year's dish that I want to try. We're gonna do stuffed pork tenderloin and we're gonna put it in our smoker. So before I get too far ahead, as always, make sure you hit that sub button, notification button, share with your friends and family, comment down below, and as always, peace out, enjoy the video. So the first thing I want to do is I want to cut open my pork tenderloin, and then once I do that, then I'm gonna get fancy, and you can stuff it with whatever. It's gonna be kind of it's called a roulade, which is basically a rolled pork loin, or it's usually, it's beef is usually what it's used with, but it can be whatever. But I'm gonna stuff it with some sun-dried tomatoes and some provolone cheese, and then after it's done, after we get it all put together, I'm gonna top it with this this rosemary and garlic seasoning that my buddy gave me. I'm gonna give it a try. I'm mainly going for the rosemary and garlic type of vibe for it. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's cut this guy, and I'm gonna kind of show you what I'm talking about when I say roulade. So I need kind of a nice big cutting board to do this, because once I start cutting it open, it's gonna roll out and probably be just about as big, if not slightly bigger than this cutting board. So I need a nice size cutting board. You kind of want to pat this dry just a little bit because it'll be easier to handle, okay? Now the best way to do this is you want to start probably about a third of the way from the bottom, because you want this to have some thickness, but you want to start this about a third from the bottom, and then as you work your way from it, it will kind of stay the same throughout. So I'm gonna do the best I can with this, kind of clean it up just a hair. And when you cut this, you want the fat side to be up. So that's why I'm starting from the bottom, because then when I roll it back the other way, it will still have the fat side up. So I guess it doesn't really matter which way you start, just as long as the fat side is up. I haven't done this in a really long time, but I'm just kind of butterflying it just a little bit. I probably went the wrong way, and it's not going to be pretty, but I want it close. Again, a lot of this is going to be rolled back up and stuffed inside, so it doesn't really matter too much. Now you want to have butcher twine for this, because it'll help hold it together a little bit better. It'll be easier when you go to slice it. I didn't think that far ahead, but I'll make it work. So I'm just going to put it seam side down. That way it'll at least cook together. It may not hold together. It'll be a little bit harder to cut. Now I want to add my provolone cheese inside this. And you want to pick a side, because then when you roll it, it'll kind of, and you actually want to leave a little bit on the edge. So I'm going to pick kind of the poopy end that I kind of goofed. And that way when I roll it, it all kind of centers itself to the middle, but I hide that goofed up end. But I'm going to put about 4 slices of provolone in this. Actually, I'm going to put 6 or 7 in here. I'm going to put about 6. Just because that's most of the pork is the cheese. And then obviously the tomatoes, which now we're going to add the tomatoes. And I want to use some of the oil inside of this just to give it some flavor, okay? And now for the fun part. We're gonna turn this sideways and we're gonna try and roll. Okay, not bad, not bad, not the best, but not bad for someone that hasn't done this in a while. And then this is where you would take butcher twine and section it, and you want to do about 1-inch intervals. They're kind of like, I guess, servings. That's what butcher twine's usually used for, other than to hold it together. Is then you can also use it to portion out your loin, whether it's pork loin or beef loin or whatever, and makes it nice presentation. But I don't have any, so I'm just gonna go ahead and transfer this onto my sheet tray carefully, like so. I'm gonna go ahead and do this like I normally do barbecue, like I've done all my barbecue. I'm gonna do mustard on top, and just a little light amount of mustard, and then I'll put my seasoning on. Okay, I got my mustard. Again, just using a little bit, not a lot. I don't want to go overzealous with the mustard. Now, I know I'm crossing the streams a little bit with different people's seasonings, but again, I'm using this mainly for the rosemary and garlic portion of the seasoning, and because it smells good. So yeah, we got it covered. I got my smoker set to 225. We're gonna throw this in there. We're gonna go for 2 hours, check it, make sure that it's cooked. If it's not, then we'll go another hour. So anywhere between 2 to 3 hours should be ideal. So we're not going for pulled pork, but I want my internal temp to be 165. So anywhere from 2 to 3 hours should be ideal. This is about a 4-pound pork loin. So again, it's about 15 to 20 minutes per pound. And so we're gonna aim for at least 2 because it is stuffed. If it wasn't stuffed, then you just want it to hit 145, maybe 150. But for this, because it is stuffed, you want it to be 165. So let's throw it out in the smoke. Say, see you in a few hours, pork loin. All right, so we ended up going about 4 hours because cold and smoker don't work well. But we ended up going for about 4 hours. We got 160. I let it rest for a little bit, so it's about 162. I ended up letting it rest, I think about 15 minutes. But it smells amazing. It looks amazing. I'm ready to cut into it and try it out. I'm gonna cut into it. Not too bad. Still very juicy. I like it. I like it a lot. Make me a happy man. Cheers. Wow, that was real good. The cheese adds some nice fat to it because the tenderloin doesn't have a whole lot of fat to begin with. It's got a little bit of sweetness from the sun-dried tomatoes, which is really nice. And it actually has a little bit of sweetness from the seasoning of the prime rib stuff because I found out it actually has a little bit of cane sugar in it. So it's almost like barbecue ribs. But this is, I haven't had pork, it's basically like a pork chop. And it's a stuffed pork chop, and I haven't had one in a really long time. And this is pretty tasty. It's got a nice smoke taste to it. It's not strong, doesn't overpower everything, and it's very tender too. The sweetness of the seasoning, along with the sweetness of the tomatoes, but kind of that salty sweet, or not salty sweet, but salty. Kind of that salty taste of the cheese is, so I would say that with some like grilled asparagus and maybe with some mashed potatoes, pretty baller meal right there. But there you have it, guys, a smoked stuffed pork chop. Definitely, in my opinion, a little bit better than pork and sauerkraut for New Year's. But if you like your pork and sauerkraut, go for it. But as for me, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that sub button again. Make sure you share with your friends and family. And as always, guys, peace out.